Welcome to the Hired Not Fired podcast, brought to you by The Real Me, the soft skills first talent solution that helps employers hire entry-level employees with better developed soft skills, such as communication, problem solving, or emotional intelligence. Join us as we sit down with hiring managers, talent leaders, and others and get insider tips to help Gen Z stand out and get hired. Let's dive in. Welcome back to Hired Not Fired. This is part 2 of our chat with Robbin Boyd of Southern Glazer's Wine and Spirits. Robbin's a dynamic leader in early career talent acquisition, currently serving as Senior Manager of Early Career Talent and DEI Champion at Southern Glazer's Wine and Spirits. In this role, she spearheaded an initiative resulting in a 65% intern conversion rate and national program accolades, including a #1 sales marketing program ranking by Vault. Her dedication to culture and engagement is evident through strategic partnerships with historically Black colleges and universities, Hispanic serving institutions, and her strong commitment to supporting queer youth. Robbin is passionate about empowering and investing in the next generation of leaders. Welcome back, Robbin. Thank you for being here.
I appreciate that. I'm excited to be here and continue the conversation.
Yes, you really shared some great, valuable tips and strategies last time. So let's dig in a little more. How can someone show you that they have strong skills beyond just saying it on the resume, whether it's one page or more?
Right. So we talked a little bit about that potential, right? So how do you showcase that potential when you haven't yet had the experience to do that in like very literal terms, right? So you're showcasing that. I think one of the things that you can do is before you are that subject matter expert, follow the subject matter experts, share their information. So whatever that industry is for you, go in, find out who are the leaders there, who are the folks that are putting out great content, share that content, like that content, join those organizations where that person is a leader. I will tell you personally, for me, so I went through a career change a couple of years ago when I joined Southern Glazers. And one of the things that got my foot in the door, believe it or not, was that I had followed the organization. I had shared some content from a leader. I liked what they were doing. And they were like, she's interested in us and we would like to learn more. It showcased my potential for being a part of their organization. Now, of course, I have a bajillion years experience, so it's a little bit different. I get that. But while you're early in your career, find those organizations that align to what you're looking for and then become engaged, truly, authentically engaged and interested. I think that's a big game changer.
That's great. Thanks for sharing that. Now, let's say someone's never had a real job. What else can they do to stand out?
Yeah, I think you've got to build your personal brand. Part of that is what I just spoke about, right? Your brand is you are heavily engaged in supply chain. So you're a part of supply chain of America, on your campus, you're a leader, all of those things. But, building your profile on LinkedIn, Handshake, all of those so that I might, if I meet a student at an event, I'm going to go look at their socials. I'm going to see what they're doing online to see, is this truly a focus for them? Or did they just walk in today because they didn't have a class, that kind of thing? And not to say that that's bad. If you come in at the last minute, that's absolutely amazing, but you're going to showcase yourself a little bit more if you're truly engaged. One of the things that I know about this generation is that they respect authenticity. And they can see it if it's not authentic, right? So the same as for us. We can see when you're truly engaged and truly interested. There was a young lady that I also met at Prairie View. It's one of my favorite campuses, so I talk about it a lot. But she came to see me every semester. And one of our challenges is you must be 21. Because of our industry. And I remember the time that she ran over and she said, guess what? I'm 21. And she remained engaged. It was authentic, her enthusiasm, right? That's what I'm looking for. That helps me to identify that potential. Are you enthusiastic, and are you really, really interested in what you're doing with your career and where you want to go, and also what my company's doing?
That's great. I take it you hired her.
Yep, you're about to. I hope so.
Oh, so this is a recent story. That's
Yeah, this
great.
is recent. We're still in that process with her, but I tell you, she stayed in my mind. And when she came back, I was very, very excited that she was old enough to start working with us. Yes.
That's great. So, what's one underrated move that you wish more entry-level candidates made?
What's one underrated advice? So I think AI is changing the game a little bit. I don't want to lean too heavily on that. Like my company, we don't use that in any of our applicant tracking systems or things like that. But I've heard word that the resume is going away, right? I've heard lots of information about that. I don't see that happening. As advanced as talent acquisition is, we also just have some markers, right? Where we like to see that paper so that we can showcase your abilities. But I think you've got to use your tools. And so understanding what are those call outs in the job profile that they're hiring for, and how does your resume align to that, or ensuring that it does. I am not saying create things. Please don't do that. Be honest, but your resume cannot say everything about you. So ensure that you're highlighting those things that are super important to that employer, right? That's a big, big deal. No one's perfect. And interviewing is a muscle. So every time you interview, you're going to get a little better at it. So utilize your career centers. They have mock interviews. I do them all the time. And I'm that recruiter that's going to give you real feedback. You know, I'm going to say, look, you did this really, really well, but I would work on this. That's, my goal. But ensuring that you're utilizing those times. I don't care if it's a mirror, if it's your cat, your mom, your sister, your roommate at school. Practice the interview. Be really, really comfortable talking about yourself and that potential that employers need to see. Because honestly, if you don't, who is? Who's going to do that for you? So you've got to get comfortable with that. Literally Google behavioral interview questions and the industry or the company, and just get real comfortable talking about the non-concrete, right? Those things that are your potential, showcasing that.
Yeah, that's great. It really comes down to the soft skills. That's what we say at The Real Me. The
Right.
soft skills are your evidence of potential. So
Absolutely.
having said that, what are some of the soft skills that you look for when you're looking for the potential, assessing potential?
Yeah, so I love a student who works their way through school. I love a student that's got grit, tenacity, resilience is big. I love students that maybe don't know exactly what they want to do, but they're really committed to figuring it out. I mean, obviously, if you go to school to be an architect, you're going to be an architect in most instances, unless you change your mind along the way. But if you've got a business degree and you don't know exactly what you want to do with that, and you're exploring, but you're enthusiastic about learning. I like lifelong learners. I like students who maybe, overcome some things. First generation students, things of that nature. For us, a GPA does not define who you are. There's so much more outside of that. And so, just keeping that in mind and being open, a learner, showing tenacity, those kinds of things. Those are the skills that we look for that feed potential.
That's great. I think you anticipated my next question. What's
Yeah.
one trend in entry-level hiring that you wish secretly would just go away?
It's that GPA.
I knew that's what you were
That
going to say.
GPA. Look, what do they say? 2.9 makes a doctor. Certainly, it can also make a technical salesperson, right? If it can make a doctor. I think that, first of all, we know that GPAs disproportionately impact underserved communities. We know that due to lack of resources or systemic biases. We understand that. But for me, there's so much more to that student than the GPA. Certainly, we want successful students. We want hardworking students. But in our world, we don't have a knockout factor of GPA. I'll never forget during COVID. First of all, let's keep in mind that the students graduating today went to high school during COVID. And
Yes.
so that there was a key learning difference there in that time frame. I think we need to be empathetic to that. I think we need to keep in mind that these students definitely showcased their tenacity and their ability to overcome obstacles during that time. But, there could be a lot of things that contribute to not a 4.0, not a 3.0. And I want to hear that story. I want to hear what brought you there. But that's just not I wish that weren't a knockout factor for a lot of employers.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Do you have anything else you would like to add that I didn't think to ask?
Oh gosh, we talked about practicing interviewing. I'm not kidding. That's really, really important to get comfortable with that. I think, for me, many times in my career, what I've done is I've reverse architectured my career search. So I look at companies that align with my goals of the kind of culture I want to be a part of. I follow those companies. I look at, do they have a diverse slate of leaders? Not just what the company diversity space says, but what do their leaders say? What do they look like? Do you see yourself in that organization? I would say know your worth. Know your worth. Utilize your career center. It's often such an underutilized resource at school. And that really is our first line of defense. So know that going into it. And even when I'm talking to students who are deciding where to go to school, we truly, we don't care as much about where you go to school. We care about what you got out of it. What did you learn? What critical thinking skills did you learn while you were in school? And those don't always come through in a major, right? I talked to a biomed student who just didn't want to go into a clinic. She didn't want to go into research. And I said, what I know about you is you learned how to quantify data and how to analyze and how to research. And that fits into so many other spaces. She was afraid she had a 4-year degree she couldn't use. I was like, absolutely we can. Let me tell you what I can do with you. So just knowing that the world is your oyster, get comfortable bragging on yourself, get comfortable talking about your potential, and know that when we talk to you, we want you to be successful. I think that's a lot of things. A lot of nerves surround talking to your recruiters and talking to your hiring managers. We want you to be successful. We want you to be the person that fits with us. So we're not looking to try and find how you aren't a match. Makes sense.
Makes a lot of sense. Thank you. That was wonderful, wonderful information. I'd like to thank you, Robbin, for keeping it real. And to our listeners out there, if you got value from this episode, please share it with your network, with friends, anyone you know who's job hunting, and follow us at Hired Not Fired podcast. And if you're feeling brave, leave us a voice message with questions you'd like us to ask future guests that we have on the show. So see you next week for another episode of Hired Not Fired, unfiltered chat with the people who are actually doing the hiring.
Thanks, Deb.